Thanks for having me tonight. The title of my little rant tonight is called Psychotherapy for Community, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love New Media Business Practices, or perhaps What to Do with That Self-Help Book Your Mom Gave You for Your Birthday. It's a little awkward. But first off, a quick disclaimer. I'm not an actual psychotherapist, but sometimes I play one on the internet. I help manage a large community and put on similar events such as TED. And being that our theme is truth and beauty, I wanted to share a personal truth that I've discovered that many of you probably also realized. Marriage is really, really hard. I've been with my partner for 12 years. We've been married for 8. A few years ago, we realized that we didn't have the tools that we needed to effectively communicate with each other. We were getting stuck with a lot of issues. And so we ended up deciding to do some couples counseling, and we went through the University of Texas and met this amazing young man who was a grad student who introduced us to the work of John Gottman. Now, many of you probably own this book, The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work. Some of you may have read Malcolm Gladwell's Blink and heard about John Gottman. But Gottman was the first to really empirically look at how couples were interacting. He basically had an apartment in Seattle called the Seattle Love Lab. He would invite folks in and then just observe them. And he came up with 7 principles that basically successful couples were doing. They didn't know what they were doing. So these 7 principles for making marriage work, one was enhance your love maps. And what he means by love maps is actually part of your brain that stores memories about your loved ones, the neural network, memories of your courtship. He also has nurturing your fondness and admiration, again, being positive with your partner, toward each other instead of away, letting your partner influence you, solve your solvable problems, overcoming gridlock, and then creating shared meaning, again, the daily rituals that we do to create intimacy with another person. Well, I work in technology, and I imagine many of you have heard of this whole social media thing. And so I'm proposing that we take this therapy and we basically let our clients influence us. We create shared meaning with the experiences that we design and build and create in our lives every day. So again, this is just another way of taking something that wasn't obvious and applying it to this other thing. And I think we need to stop worrying about our social media strategies and, in my world, measuring the social graph and start to work on our interpersonal communication skills. Well, another truth that I wanted to share with you today, that it's not about communicating more, it's about communicating better. Well, we all bring a tremendous amount of baggage to the table, don't we? We have family histories, some of them pleasant, some of them unpleasant. I am, in fact, Irish. I come from an Irish Catholic heritage. I tend to repress. I don't deal with conflict well. As a matter of fact, I'm the descendant of one of 3 brothers who were kicked out of Ireland. One of these brothers was actually kicked out of Georgia, which at the time was pretty much a prison colony. He ended up landing in the Fiji Islands and shipwrecked and married the king's daughter. And it's actually a terrible movie. It's not worth seeing. But there's a show on television right now that deals with this Irish character that I really identify with. It's Denis Leary, who I never really liked back in the MTV commercials with the smoking. But he has this really well-written show. He plays this pretty despicable character named Tommy Gavin, and I wanted to share a quote with you today. And he's talking about, no, we're real Irish, not your fake generation Irish. You guys talk about your feelings and talk it out. We don't talk it out. We find the person responsible, and we beat the living shit out of them. And I think that this is a great representation of the old way of doing business. But as it turns out, conflict is key to happiness and part of having a successful relationship. Scientists like Tal Ben-Shahar at Harvard are studying optimal love, and they're realizing that there's a correlation between couples, conflict and happiness. So couples that have lots of conflict tend to be happier than those without. Well, how do we appropriately manage this conflict and transform this into this genesis of growth? And one of the ways that I've learned to do this is through cognitive behavioral therapy. Again, Albert Ellis is the founding father of this, and it's a treatment of choice for a number of mental health difficulties that many of us have: post-traumatic stress disorder, bulimia, depression, chronic fatigue syndrome. And basically, Ellis proposes that we have these core beliefs, again, these kind of conditioned behaviors and responses wired into us. And there's self-defeating beliefs, and then there's rational beliefs. An example of a self-defeating belief is my unhappiness is caused by things outside of my control, so there's little I can do about it. But an example of a rational belief is there are many factors outside of my control, but it is my thoughts which cause my feelings, and I can learn to control my thoughts. And this is pretty powerful stuff, because it means that I can use this as a treatment of choice for a number of business challenges, difficult clients, trolls, negative social media energy, I totally made that up, and that very special coworker. And again, my point is that the moments that we are most uncomfortable in life, the moments when we feel terribly awkward, that's when we need to be paying attention, because that is the moment that we can learn and grow. Because the truth is that relationships are really hard. Business is personal, but they wouldn't be worthwhile if they were easy. So I challenge everyone here, let's rewire ourselves. Let's use these therapies to get parts of our brain talking to each other that were never talking to each other before. And this is the secret to this disruptive thinking that you're hearing a lot about. This is the secret to innovation. And this is the secret to inspiration. And I think that that is a very beautiful thing. Thanks.